One of the giants of the fantasy genre is George R.R. Martin. His epic series, A Song of Ice and Fire, sold millions of copies. He gained even more fans when the books were made into the enormously popular television series A Game of Thrones. That the series was so well received is not surprising. While he started out in the early 1970s as a writer of science fiction and fantasy, he later became a regular contributor to TV series such as The Twilight Zone and the cult classic Max Headroom. He also wrote 14 episodes of Beauty and the Beast, so I would imagine he had half an eye on his books being turned into TV while he was writing them. He is on record as saying that he returned to writing novels in the early 1990s because he was frustrated with the small screen. Limited budgets and episode lengths were forcing him to rein in his imagination. So A Song of Ice and Fire was born, where his creative mind could run free. In common with many great writers, he's placed his story in a believable and in many ways familiar setting. He's added magic, zombies and dragons to a medieval world already filled with knights, knaves, fools, mercenaries, peasants and squabbling monarchs, much like the Europe of the Middle Ages. A Song of Ice and Fire has been described as fantasy for grown-ups. If you're still mooning over Harry Potter or Twilight, this is not for you. It's dark, cynical, often tragic, and the writer has no problem killing off characters the reader may have come to love. Martin doesn't pull his punches. Death is commonplace. Murder, rape, incest, and pillage add flesh to a ripping good yarn. If you want great dialogue, humour, heroism in weaklings, nobility in villains, and on occasion the good guy coming out on top, then you should enjoy this. It's a flagship for both epic and grimdark fantasy. Martin cites The Lord of the Rings as a towering masterpiece that changed his life, but like many authors who say much the same thing, he's moved beyond the nobility of Tolkien's Middle-earth to a grimmer and more complex world. One thing he hasn't changed is the way Tolkien writes about sorcery. He keeps the details quite vague. He doesn't develop complex, logical magic systems that drive the story. As in The Lord of the Rings, the magic is always in the background, mysterious, powerful, but largely unexplained. This epic fantasy series introduces us to one of the greatest and largest character lists around. He's the master of writing a novel while switching between characters. Many authors attempt to do this, but few manage it as well as Martin. As far as I can see, writing this way has become an attempt to draw in readers from as many different backgrounds as possible, so that everybody has someone to root for. The problem is that most writers confuse the reader with so many different characters and subplots. There are exceptions, of course. Tolkien drew his characters so well in Lord of the Rings that we have no problem identifying any of them. The same can be said for Zelazny in his Amber series, and Donaldson with Thomas Covenant. Of the best modern writers, Joe Abercrombie comes close in his first Law trilogy, as does John Gwynne in his Bloodsworn saga, but Martin seems to have made a science of it. I conducted a straw poll among those who'd read Song of Ice and Fire or watched Game of Thrones, asking them to name their favourite character. Nearly all of them had an immediate answer. They didn't have to think about it. Top of the list were Arya Stark, Brienne of Tarth, the mercenary Bronn, the Hound Clegane, Daenerys Targaryen, and Cersei and her brother and lover, the Kingslayer. None of them chose one of the kinder or more noble characters such as Jon Snow, although not one of them had any difficulty remembering who I was talking about. This is really good writing. Even if you've only watched the TV series Game of Thrones, I recommend picking up the books. They are a great read. Well, that's all for this episode. If you like these podcasts and find them useful, please follow or subscribe and share them with your friends. If you want to help with the cost of making them, you can buy me a coffee. Links to all the books I recommend can be found below.